I asked my girlfriend to recount the entire story of Metal Gear Solid Part 1.
Metal Gear Solid Part 1 begins in a snowy base and you gotta sneak around. It's a sneaky game.
A surveillance camera?
So you're climbing in the vents and you're climbing around and then you have to go and you see one and you're like, you call up the colonel and you're like, I think I got the intel of where this is. And then you drop down and there's a DARPA chief and you're in the same room and it's him. And he's like, who are you? You've come to kill me. And you're like, no, I've come to save you. And you guys talk a little bit. And he's like, I didn't give the codes away. And you're like, you did. And he's like, I didn't. And then he's like, and he dies in front of you. He has like a heart attack. And the camera goes all like groovy. It's like, woo. And then so the DARPA chief's died. And you're like, oh no. We call up the colonel and he's like, what? And the psychologist's like, what? And then the door opens and there's a soldier there. And then you're like, you're not a soldier because they don't have soldier's eyes. They have good eyes. And they're looking at you. And then it's a lady's voice. You're like, you're a woman. And she's like, what of it? And then there's a nude guy in the corner who's got his ass in the air because he does. And his ass is like, it's like blurred out. Um, so that's proper. And and then all these other soldiers come in. You guys take them out with the red haired lady. And she's like, I can help you at some point do something. No, she doesn't say that. She just runs off.
Wait!
You don't know her yet. Then you go into this room, and there's this other guy, Kenneth Kenneth Baker, and it's Baxter, isn't it? It's Kenneth Baxter. But then this guy, this older gentleman with a mustache, comes out and he's got a gun, a revolver, and he's really good with it. And he's just spinning it around. And he's like, "I've got something for you." Then he makes some weird sexual innuendos about his long bullet.
There's nothing like the feeling of slamming a long silver bullet into a welder's chamber.
And then you have to fight him and you're running around, but it keeps refilling, which I don't get. Like, it still confuses me to this day why he keeps getting to replenish his bullets.
What do
So,
you mean?
what?
He's reloading.
But he only has six. See, his whole thing is how good he is with his revolver.
6 bullets, more than enough to kill anything that moves.
So what does he need more than 6 bullets for? Suddenly somebody flies out of nowhere and slices off his hand and they're invisible. And then he runs off and you're left with Kenneth Baxter. He's gonna tell you something big, and then he dies. He's like, oh no, and then he died. He clutches his heart and dies. So then you call the colonel, and the colonel's like, that is suspicious. So then you go and there's like this hallway and all these dead soldiers. So you know like something's up, and you see one scientist,
Oh, gross.
and there's like something standing in front of him, and you realize that it's the same ninja from before. He uses a sword at first, and then as soon as you hit him once, he's like, now we can truly fight as warriors. And he throws out his sword, and then you fight more, and he's like, pain, I need it. And then he runs off when you get him low enough again. And then Hell Emmerich comes out, and he's like, oh, he was wearing like a camouflaging suit or something. Like there's some fancy technical word for it. And he's like, I can help you with this. And you're like, no, you just have to stay alive. And he's like, okay, then. And then when you're out of there, you're in a library. And in the library is Psycho Mantis. Oh, who you saw earlier, but he just for a second, he like flew in front of you and the screen did the groovy thing again. And you're like, what was that, huh? And you talked to somebody about it and you were like, I thought I saw something flying, and they were like, yeah, I don't think you did. And you're like, yes, I did. And then it's like Psycho Mantis. So he's in there and he's flying and he's a weird dude. And he can like talk to you with his brain and he can switch your controller. And he also Meryl's in there now. And Meryl and Snake have had this like flirtatious relationship.
You like me? Oh, hurry, make love to me.
Colonel, your niece is going to be okay.
She's like, "Oh, you're a rebel."
Not allowed in here.
And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And then she's like, "Oh." And you're like, "I'm too good for you. No, I'm too bad for you," something like that. And so Psycho Mantis is like controlling her and he's gonna have her like kill herself. And then Psycho Mantis dies, but he also gives you his speech, and it's like,
This is the first time I've ever used my power to help someone.
Psycho Mantis, he was bad, but he didn't want to be. He wanted to be somebody else. And then you go out into the snow, and the Sniper Wolf's out there, but Otacon's in love with her.
Otacon, you sound like you're happy.
So he's like, "Don't kill her." And she's like the sniper. So you're like, why is it a sniper? And why does she have wolves? And some of them are puppies, and they're cute. And they have little heart signs that come up with them, and they're all snuggly. But maybe she doesn't want to kill you.
You're all I think about.
And then she dies somehow. You kill her? And then Otacon comes out and he's like, "No, I love her." He has issues surrounding women. And then you come upon Vulcan Raven, who's this big guy with big guns, and he has all these ravens that sit around and like fly around him. So you're in this freezer room and you gotta fight him, and you get really cold, and he gets cold, and I think he like freezes to death. And then you go down to the Metal Gears and you see this Metal Gear and you're like, Metal Gear. And I think we realized that you fought these Metal Gears before. And then out of the darkness comes this blonde dude. And he's like, "Brother." And you are like, "What?" You're either twins or you're clones of each other.
We're twins linked by cursed genes.
But one of you got the dominant genes and one of you got the recessive genes. And I don't remember which was which.
I got the flawed recessive genes.
And then you're fighting the Metal Gear, but then the cyborg ninja appears and he's like, "Actually, I'm your friend Gray Fox." And he's like, saves you from the Metal Gear. But what you find out is that Naomi is either his stepdaughter or his half daughter or his stepsister or his half sister or his adopted sister.
She thinks of me as her brother.
She cares for him, is how we'll say this. And she injected you with this fox stuff. And the fox stuff is for killing other people.
What?
If you breathe on them or something.
Pretty sneaky.
So you're battling Liquid Snake out in the snow. And you go to this battle, and Liquid Snake's like, "We'll always be brothers." And then you have to choose to save Miro or Otacon, and you have to save Otacon.
You have to.
You do have to, because he's your best friend. And it's a story about the love between you.
You're incredible. Snake, there's something I've really got to ask you. Have you ever loved someone?
What are you trying to say?
I want to ask you. Do you think love can bloom, even on a battlefield?
Yeah, I do.
I think so too.
But
Sorry. Forget I said anything.
You make the choice to save Otacon, and you guys sit and watch the sunrise together in the snow.
until today, I've lived only for myself.
What about now?
And then the game's over, and then in the mid-credit scene, you see Revolver Ocelot making a call, and he's like,
Nobody knows who I really am.
"Mr. President." Oh, I forgot that you got kidnapped and tortured.
Snake, answer me! Snake! Snake!
To be continued.